The Return of Amaka. The doors swung open. Every head in that boardroom turned. 12 of Lagos's most powerful executives sat frozen mid-conversation, papers half-raised, glasses of cold water untouched. The air conditioning hummed. Someone's phone buzzed against the table and nobody moved to silence it. She walked in wearing a wine-colored blazer that cost more than most people's monthly salary. Her heels struck the marble floor with a steady, unhurried rhythm. Her hair was pulled back cleanly. Her eyes were calm. She was not in a hurry. She had already won. It was the man at the far end of the table who saw her first. His face went white. Not pale. White. The color of someone whose past has just walked through a door and sat down across from them. His fiancée, seated 2 chairs to his left, turned to follow his gaze. Her jaw tightened. Her fingers found the edge of the table and gripped it. The older woman at the head of the table, the madam who had once pointed at this same girl and called her a thief in front of a room full of people, stared without blinking. Her reading glasses slipped down her nose. She did not push them up. The woman who had just entered took the empty seat at the opposite head of the table. She placed her folder down slowly. She looked at each face in the room, one by one, without hurry, without malice, without the slightest tremor in her expression. Then she smiled. "Good afternoon, everyone. I believe you requested this meeting." The man could not speak. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. She opened her folder. "Let's begin. After all, you asked for my help. If you love stories where the underdog rises and the tables turn completely, hit the like button right now and subscribe. This story is for everyone who has ever been counted out." 3 years earlier, Amaka Okonkwo did not own a blazer. She owned 2 wrappers, 1 pair of slippers that had cracked at the sole, and a small blue bucket she used to carry water from the tap outside to her tiny room inside the Adeyemi household in Ikoyi. She was 24 years old and she had been working in that compound since she was 22. She had come from Enugu with nothing but a phone number her mother's friend had given her, a promise of accommodation and a small monthly wage, and a quiet kind of hope that she had learned to keep private so nobody could take it from her. The Adeyemi family was wealthy in the way that only old Lagos money can be. Chief Adeyemi had built his fortune in construction and real estate across the 90s. His wife, Mrs. Bizi Adeyemi, ran the house with the particular cruelty of a woman who had never been told no. There were 3 cars in the compound, 2 housemaids, a gateman, a driver, and a cook. Amaka was the second housemaid. She washed clothes, scrubbed floors, ironed curtains, and served tea. Mrs. Adeyemi addressed her mostly in commands and occasionally in insults. "Amaka, this floor is still dirty. Are you blind? Amaka, who told you to arrange the cushions that way? You're here to work, not to be creative. Amaka, go and answer that door and make sure you don't embarrass me." Amaka answered every command quietly. She embarrassed no one. She did her work. She slept in a small room at the back of the compound, and on Sunday mornings, when the house was quiet, she would sit on the edge of her bed and read whatever she could get her hands on. A newspaper from the previous week. A magazine left behind by a visitor. A novel borrowed from the cook, whose name was Mama Chitty and who was the only person in that house who ever asked Amaka how she was doing. "You're too smart to be here," Mama Chitty told her once, peeling yam at the kitchen counter. Amaka smiled. "Mama Chitty, I'm just here to gather money and save." One day, Mama Chitty repeated, and shook her head the way older women do when they know more than they're saying. The son of the house was named Toby. Toby Adeyemi was 28, tall, clean-featured, and possessed of that particular kind of charm that comes from never having been told no either. He was not cruel the way his mother was cruel. He was something worse. He was kind when it suited him. He would look at Amaka and actually see her, which was more than anyone else in that house did, and she made the mistake of believing that being seen was the same as being safe. It started with small things. He came to the kitchen one evening when everyone else was asleep and found her reading by the light of her phone. "What are you reading?" She showed him. It was an article about microfinance and small businesses in Nigeria. He looked surprised. Not offended. Surprised. He sat down at the kitchen table and they talked for 2 hours. About business. About ambition. About how Amaka had plans, actual written down plans, saved in the Notes app on her phone for what she would do if she ever got real capital behind her. He came back the next night. And the night after that. By the 3rd month, Amaka knew she was in trouble. Not because he had pressured her. But because she had feelings she had no business having. And because he said things that lodged themselves inside her chest like seeds. "You're not like anyone I've ever met. When I see you, I see someone who's going somewhere. One day, I'll take you out of this life. I mean that." She should have known. Looking back, she should have known. But when you are poor and lonely and someone with power chooses to see you, it is very easy to believe it means something permanent. His fiancée's name was Chisholm. She had been studying in the UK. She arrived in Lagos on a Friday evening, unannounced, straight from the airport with 2 large suitcases and the particular confidence of a woman who has never had reason to feel threatened in her own life. The household knew she was coming. Toby had mentioned her in passing, twice, in a way that Amaka had heard but had not allowed herself to think too hard about. His fiancée. A word she had placed carefully in a box in her mind and put away. Chisholm was beautiful and loud and she filled rooms. She arrived and immediately began reorganizing the kitchen arrangement and telling Mrs. Adeyemi about a new interior decorator she'd found online. She noticed Amaka on the 2nd day. Not the way Toby noticed her. The way a woman notices a threat she has already decided to eliminate. At a small gathering that Saturday, the compound filled with family friends and business associates. Amaka served drinks on a tray, moving through the crowd quietly, professionally, invisibly the way she had learned to be. Toby was laughing with a group of men near the window. Chisholm was at his side. Chisholm turned and saw Amaka looking at Toby. It was 1 second. Less than 1 second. But Chisholm was a woman who collected information. An hour later, in front of 6 guests seated in the living room, Chisholm stood and said loudly, pleasantly, with a smile on her face, "Toby, your housegirl is looking at you like she knows you somehow. Should we be concerned?" Laughter from the guests. Amaka froze. Every eye in the room found her. She was still holding the tray. She could feel the weight of the glasses on it, could feel the sweat forming on her palms. She looked at Toby. He looked back at her. And then he looked away. "Chisholm, don't be silly," he said, still smiling, not at Amaka, at the room. "She's just a servant. Don't be ridiculous." The laughter grew. Someone said, "Ehen, these housegirls can be funny oh." Someone else said, "She should focus on her tray before she spills something." Amaka turned and walked back to the kitchen. She placed the tray on the counter. She pressed both palms flat on the surface and breathed slowly. She did not cry. Not yet. She told herself she was overreacting. She told herself it was just a social situation, that he had to say that later he would explain, that the private Toby and the public Toby were different people and the private one was real. She was wrong. 3 days later, her room was searched. She was in the compound hanging clothes when Mrs. Adeyemi's voice came sharp and loud from inside. "Amaka. Come in here now." She came inside. 3 people were standing in her small room. Mrs. Adeyemi, Chisholm, and one of the compound's security guards. On her bed, laid out like evidence at a tribunal, were 3 pieces of gold jewelry. A bracelet. A necklace. A pair of earrings. They were not hers. She had never seen them before. "You want to steal from my house," Mrs. Adeyemi said. Her voice was cold in a way that was worse than shouting. "After everything I've done for you. After I brought you in from nowhere and fed you and gave you shelter. Ma, those are not mine." Amaka's voice was steady but her hands were shaking. "I have never seen those before. I did not put them there. So they walked into your room by themselves?" Chisholm said. She sounded almost bored. "Almost. I am telling you the truth. Those items are not mine. Someone put them there. Nobody asked who. Nobody investigated. Nobody called Toby downstairs to hear her side." Mrs. Adeyemi pointed at the door and said, "Pack your things and leave my compound before I call the police." Amaka looked at Chisholm. Chisholm met her gaze evenly and smiled. In that moment, Amaka understood everything. Not just what had happened in that room. Everything. The whole architecture of the past months. The late-night conversations. The promises. The way Toby had looked away at the party. All of it. She went to her room. She packed her things into the same bag she had arrived with. She carried it out through the compound. The gateman opened the small side gate. He looked at her but said nothing. She stepped outside. The street was busy. Danfo buses. Okada riders. A woman selling groundnuts on the corner. The ordinary loud life of Lagos continuing completely indifferent to the fact that her world had just collapsed. Then the rain came. It came the way Lagos rain always comes, without warning, heavy and absolute, soaking everything within seconds. Amaka stood in it and did not run. There was nowhere to run to. She had no money for a hotel. The number she had in her phone for her mother's friend had been disconnected for 2 months. She had 4,200 naira in her account. She walked until she couldn't walk anymore. She sat down on a covered bench outside a closed shop and put her bag between her feet. The rain hammered the zinc roof above her. She whispered to herself, not a prayer exactly, but something close to one. "I didn't just lose my job. I lost my dignity. But I am still here. I am still here." And she was. 2 hours later, an older man with a gray beard and a briefcase came to wait out the rain under the same zinc roof. He looked at her. Properly looked. Not with hunger or pity but with something more careful. Assessment. "You look like someone who just lost a war," he said. "I did," she said. He was quiet for a while. Then he said, "Wars end. Then people rebuild." He reached into his briefcase and gave her a business card. "My name is Mr. Emeka Okafor. I run a small business development consultancy. We occasionally bring in young people we think have potential and train them. Come to that address tomorrow morning if you are interested. 8 o'clock. He closed his briefcase and walked into the rain. Amaka looked at the card for a long time. She came at 7:45. What followed was not a miracle. It was work. Hard, deliberate, sometimes exhausting work that Amaka attacked with the particular intensity of someone who has nothing left to lose and everything to prove. Mr. Okafor's organization was small but serious. He had spent 30 years in investment banking before leaving to mentor young entrepreneurs. He ran workshops, connected people to funding, coached presentation skills, and had an eye for talent that had made him quietly legendary in certain Lagos circles. He saw in Amaka what he called fire that doesn't know it's fire yet. She enrolled in night classes for business administration. She attended every workshop. She read every document Mr. Okafor gave her twice, 3 times, until she could speak about financial modeling and market analysis with the same fluency she had once brought to reading borrowed magazines on a Sunday morning. She was not the same girl. Or rather, she was exactly the same girl, but the world was finally creating the conditions where the truth of who she had always been could be visible. The first real opportunity came 14 months after she left the Adeyemi compound. A small retail investment pool needed someone to manage their community outreach and portfolio presentations. Mr. Okafor recommended her. She showed up. She was brilliant. The contract led to another contract. That contract led to an introduction. That introduction led to a board seat on a mid-sized investment firm called Veritas Capital Partners. In another year, she was not just on the board. She was running the room. She moved fast, but not recklessly. She understood money in a way that surprised people who expected someone with her background to be timid with it. She understood risk. She understood people. She understood that the real currency in Lagos business was not money but trust, and she built trust the way she built everything else, slowly, honestly, without shortcuts. There was a morning, about 2 years in, when she stood in front of her bathroom mirror in the apartment she had just signed the lease on. Her apartment. Her name on the lease. Her face in the mirror. She barely recognized herself. Not because she had changed her face but because the fear was gone from her eyes. She had not realized until that moment how much of the girl in the Adeyemi compound had been defined by fear. Fear of being dismissed. Fear of not being enough. Fear of hoping too loudly. That fear was gone. In its place was something quieter and far more dangerous. She knew who she was. The Adeyemi family's troubles began the way many wealthy families' troubles begin in Lagos. Slowly, then all at once. A series of bad investments in 2024 led to significant debt. Chief Adeyemi's health had deteriorated. Toby had taken over operations and made several decisions that demonstrated, as people in financial circles whispered politely to each other, that he had inherited his father's name but not his instincts. The family company was bleeding. A major real estate project in Lekki had collapsed when their foreign partner pulled out. 2 of their banks had issued notices. The Adeyemi name, which had once opened every door in Lagos business, was beginning to cause people to quietly step back. They needed an emergency capital injection. They needed a credible investment firm willing to either buy in or restructure their debt. They needed a name that could restore confidence and buy them time. Their financial consultant, a man who did not know the personal history, gave them a name. Veritas Capital Partners. The CEO, he told them, was exceptional. Sharp, fair, no nonsense. Had turned around 2 troubled companies in the last 18 months. Name was Amaka Okonkwo. Toby's assistant booked the meeting. Nobody made the connection. Why would they? The Amaka they had known was a housegirl from Enugu with cracked slippers. The Amaka in the business papers was photographed in boardrooms, quoted in Business Day, described as one of the most promising investment figures to emerge in Lagos in recent years. The same name. Obviously not the same person. They came to her boardroom dressed for a transaction. Mrs. Adeyemi in heavy lace and coral beads, the armor of a Lagos madam accustomed to being the most important woman in every room. Chisholm in a sharp-shouldered dress, a diamond on her finger, and the posture of someone who had been planning her life carefully for a long time. Toby in a dark suit, carrying the particular fatigue of a man who has recently discovered that charm is not a business strategy. Amaka let them settle. She let the assistants pour water. She let the silence sit for exactly long enough. Then she walked in. The effect was immediate and complete. She watched it happen on each face in sequence. The initial professional assessment, the polite attention of people about to conduct business. Then the flicker. The adjustment. The dawning, horrible recognition. Toby went still the way prey goes still. Mrs. Adeyemi's hand, reaching for her water glass, stopped halfway. Chisholm's eyes went very wide and then very flat. Amaka sat down. She opened her folder. She looked at them with complete composure. "Funny how life works, isn't it?" she said simply. Nobody spoke. "You came here to ask for my help." She said it without mockery, without triumph, just as a statement of fact. I imagine you didn't expect to find me. Mrs. Adeyemi opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Amaka. Her voice came out smaller than she had perhaps intended. I've reviewed your company's financial situation, Amaka said. It's serious. But it's not unrecoverable. Let's talk about what is possible. She paused. After that, we will talk about other things. The meeting lasted 2 hours. For the first 90 minutes it was entirely professional. Amaka walked them through their options with clarity and precision. She did not let her personal history make her sloppy or theatrical. She was there as a businesswoman first. But in the final 30 minutes, the folder was closed. It was Toby who broke. Perhaps the guilt had been sitting on him for too long. Perhaps seeing her, composed and powerful and clearly unbothered, was more than his particular brand of self-deception could survive. Amaka, he said. I owe you an apology. I know that is not enough. What happened in that house? Do you know what happened in that house? She asked. He hesitated. You were accused of stealing. Do you know, she said again, more clearly, exactly what happened in that house? The silence was different now. She reached into a separate folder and placed 3 photographs on the table. Screenshots, actually, printed and clear. They showed CCTV footage from a neighbor's external camera that partially covered the back of the Adeyemi compound. The timestamp was from the night before her room was searched. The figure in the footage, moving toward the staff quarters, was identifiable even in the grainy quality. The figure was Chisholm. Amaka had known for some time. Mr. Okafor had helped her understand, early in her recovery, that knowledge is a resource. That holding information patiently, without deploying it for emotional satisfaction, is a form of power. She had held this for over 2 years. She had not told anyone. She had not needed to. Until now. Chisholm looked at the photographs and said nothing. Toby looked at them and then looked at Chisholm with an expression that was the slow death of something he might not even have known he still believed. I knew who framed me, Amaka said. I knew when I left and I knew every day after. I did not come back to this room to punish anyone. I came back because you requested a meeting and because I am a professional. She gathered the photographs back into the folder. But you should know the truth. Not for my sake. For yours. Mrs. Adeyemi looked old. For the first time since Amaka had known her, she simply looked old and tired. Amaka, she said. Her voice was almost gentle. I am sorry for what I did to you. For how we treated you. Amaka looked at her for a long moment. I believe you, she said. But sorry is not a transaction. I'm not here to negotiate your guilt. Toby said quietly, I was weak. I should have stood up for you. I should never have said what I said that evening. You should not have, she agreed. But I stopped needing you to admit that a long time ago. There was no rage in her voice. That was perhaps the most devastating thing about the conversation. There was nothing he could do with her calmness. There was no anger to argue with, no bitterness to use as leverage, no wound still open that he could claim some responsibility for healing. She was not performing forgiveness either. She had simply moved so far past that version of events that the original injury had become small. She leaned forward slightly. Here is what I am willing to offer your company. She laid out the terms. A capital injection through Veritas in exchange for a 40% stake. Restructuring of current debt through a partner firm. A 2-year recovery plan with specific deliverables. The terms were fair. They were also non-negotiable. And they meant that the Adeyemi company would survive, but the Adeyemi family would no longer be its primary power. They had no other option. They signed. As the meeting ended and people began to gather their things and the awkward choreography of departure began, Toby approached her at the door. Are you happy? He asked. It was a real question. Not sarcastic. He genuinely wanted to know. She thought about it honestly. Yes, she said. Not because of today. Just yes. He nodded slowly. He seemed to want to say something more. She waited. He couldn't find it. She didn't need him to. She walked out. The Lagos afternoon was brilliant and loud outside. Her driver was waiting. She got into the back seat and looked out the window as they pulled into traffic, past buses and roadside traders and the ordinary extraordinary noise of a city that does not stop for anyone's story. She thought about the girl who had sat on a covered bench in the rain, bag between her feet, whispering to herself, "I am still here." She thought about Mama Chitty, who she had visited twice since she got her apartment, who still peeled yam the same way and who had wept when she saw how Amaka had grown. She thought about Mr. Okafor, who had stood in a doorway during one of her early presentations and watched her own the room, and who had said afterward, simply, "There it is." She thought about what she had said in that boardroom. "I didn't come back for revenge. I came back for closure." That was true. But it wasn't the whole truth. She had also come back to prove something to herself. To close a chapter in her own story, not in theirs. The person she had become did not need their apologies to stand up. But it had mattered to look at the room where she had once been invisible and to sit, finally, at the head of it. The car moved through Ikoyi. They passed a road she recognized. She did not look away from it. She looked directly at it as it went by. She was not the girl they had mocked. That girl had survived and become something else entirely. Sometimes, she said quietly, to no one in particular, to herself, to the girl in the rain, to every woman who had ever been dismissed and underestimated and told that what she was all she would ever be, the best revenge is becoming untouchable. She looked back out at Lagos. At the city that had broken her and the city that had built her. Both the same city. Both completely true. She smiled. Not a performance. Not a triumph. Just a woman who had found her way home to herself, and who had never, not for one single day, stopped believing that she deserved to arrive there. If this story moved you, drop a comment and tell me, did they deserve what they got? And if you are someone who is still in the rain right now, still at the bottom, still wondering if your story will ever turn, subscribe and stay here. These stories are for you.